opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the participants and do not reflect the opinions or beliefs of Marshall University, Marshall University Libraries, the Department of English, the College of Liberal Arts, Marshall University Film Studies, or HerdCon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Giant Bombs, exploring cinema through famous box office flops. I am here, as always, with Professor Ian Nolte, and we have a special guest, Professor Nathan Rucker. Nathan teaches with us in the English department here at Marshall University, and you teach classes in professional writing, film, comic books.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're a pretty busy guy.
Yeah, and I actually taught a class one time that's very germane to this, what we're talking about today. But yeah.
What class was that? Oh, well, but yeah. Okay, back to you. So this week we'll be talking about perhaps a forgotten film flop from the 1990s, from 1991, Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. To give a brief film summary, two lone riders hold up a bank's armored car to save their friend's bar from imminent foreclosure. Soon the mission goes awry when they discover the vehicle's unexpected cargo. This film notably stars as Harley Davidson, Academy Award nominee Mickey Rourke, and as the Marlboro Man, Don Johnson of Nash Bridges, Miami Vice fame. He was in the television miniseries Watchmen. He was in Knives Out. And it has a fascinating cast along with it, including Daniel Baldwin, one of the Baldwin brothers.
Maybe the best Baldwin brother, in my opinion.
The least proper,
the rarest Baldwin brother.
He comes out from time to time. Giancarlo Esposito, a noted television and film actor. There's so many people in this film. Tom Sizemore,
who is really underwritten in this movie for that actor.
Yeah,
sorry,
this was a film written and co-produced by, and this was his first screenplay, Don Michael Paul, one of those rare people with three first names. And was directed by Simon Windsor, an Australian director, most notable for doing a lot of work in Australia. He also did the TV miniseries version of Lonesome Dove, which your grandfather might remember, and he also directed Free Willy. And
the next year,
and what else did he direct?
Quigley Down Under, man.
Quigley
Tom
Down Under,
Selleck.
good Western. I was looking at. Yeah, he also directed The Phantom, which was quite a good movie. So he's definitely one of those Australian directors. I think kind of along the same lines with Martin Campbell, who directed GoldenEye and Casino Royale. These kind of Aussie directors who transitioned into making film and television in America.
Pretty good, journeyman director. Yeah. Like he's just he knows exactly what he's doing. Like all of his movies always the ones I've seen seem to very confident.
Yeah.
Even though they're straightforward, they're just very confident.
Yeah, he's a seasoned pro for these things, whatever the situation. And he certainly directs the film with confidence. But this is a wild and strange and fascinating script. This was one that you had picked, Nathan.
What led you to choose this movie? Why is this movie one that stands out to you?
First, one little note. I found out in the last year that his name, that he's Italian, and his name is actually pronounced Giancarlo Esposito. Because I always had called him Giancarlo Esposito, but apparently his name is Giancarlo Esposito, which I thought was really cool to learn that at 40-something years old. But yeah, I loved this movie as a kid. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, had the thing where we had a VCR and you buy those 6-hour tapes that you could record 3 movies from HBO on whenever you had the free weekend of HBO. And so that's what we did. And so we had a bunch of tapes with just 3 movies on each one of them. And I think this one included there was this movie and then probably Time Cop and then maybe Die Hard 2.
Hour tape.
Huh? I know. And so I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I've always just I've always loved like 80s and 90s actioners, because like growing up, like that was the main movies my dad was interested in, like that would like we'd watch together, and so I just always really liked them. And I still like those movies. Yeah, so that's kind of the reason why I did it. To the thing you were asking about earlier, a few years ago I taught a good films class on looking at sort of the representations of masculinity in the American action film. I wish I'd done this one. But we did a lot of we did like First Blood Part 2, we did Terminator 2, we did The Matrix, we did Point Break, stuff like that, and talked about masculinity and stuff in those films. So this is like as far as a movie, this is within my wheelhouse, I feel.
I never saw this movie before this moment. But I do remember it coming out and being promoted primarily because of the title.
Yeah.
And as a child, I was very confused by the title, Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. And I was really curious about it. Like, what is it? Is this like a superhero thing? Are they going to make Hamburger Helper and the Cadillac Dude? Like, what other movies are, what is this story? What is it?
Yeah.
And for some, I remember it, like seeing it on like commercials for it on television and everything. And it always stuck in my mind, that title. I never ever forgot that title. But for some reason, the movie kind of like just came and went, and I never encountered it ever. And I was very curious to watch it through this time. Like, what is this movie from this strange time period?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up about remembering it, because it's about the name. Because it was funny to me that this was the first time, and I watched it twice. I watched it back in November, and I watched it today before I come over here. And this was these two watches were the first time I realized that his name is not the Marlboro Man. Like, I thought he was literally, that was his name in some way. Like, not, like he didn't have another name. And that it seems kind of like the Harley Davidson isn't his real name either.
No,
they just called him these things. But back when it originally came out, I thought his name was literally Harley Davidson.
Is this weird because Harley Davidson is like a company, is like the creators, the Harley, I think William Harley and the Davidson brothers, Harley Davidson. So it is with the little hyphen. It's a company name, and it's just a weird thing to call. It's like calling someone McDonnell Douglas or whatever, a law firm name or something like that, And then the Marlboro Man is this iconic kind of advertising character who they used to have Marlboro cigarettes, or they still have Marlboro cigarettes. Yeah. But they had this ad about this guy who was the Marlboro Man, and I was reading a little bit up on it, and the ad agency was like, we have all these male models, and they don't look like the Marlboro Man we want. So they actually found a real cowboy. The first one was Robert C. Norris. He was hired because they were so unhappy with the male models, and he was not a smoker. And he portrayed him for years, but then he left. We thought, I'm hearing this like stuff about smoking is bad for your health, and so he quit. He quit being the Marlboro Man. He died at the age of 90, so he lived all the way to 2019.
Good for him getting out of there. Like, got his money, and then he got out.
Yeah, and there were a couple of actors. There were a couple of performers after that, but it was always like, this is a dude who's like, this is an actual cowboy. And then you have Pretty Boy Don Johnson, who I think is having the most fun in the world in this film. So it's interesting that the kind of all of this like marketing and advertising characters and everything. Like,
well, it's interesting because I was looking at some stuff about the marketing, because I was also just like, why is there a movie with these? But it's not, because when I was a kid, I thought, oh, these, like, they paid for this. Like, this was...
Yeah,
this was Marlboro.
Yes, I thought it was like
and
some
Harley
kind
Davidson
of cross-branding
and release, like, the Coke and McDonald's and Mac and Me. I thought it was something like that. But yeah, it wasn't. And so I was like, I was really interested in that, and I found it was a study I saw published in Enticing the New Lad. It had a really interesting point, I thought, about the marketing of Marlboro cigarettes. He said, I'm going to just read this little paragraph. It's okay. It's like, the marketing of Marlboro cigarettes by Philip Morris and Leo Burnett is an example of how a product is constructed relative to the cultural understandings of masculinity, making masculinity as much a product of consumption as the cigarette. As Alexander notes in her research on masculinity in men's health magazines, quote, the image of masculinity is constructed purposely to sell a brand name product and shapes the way men see themselves and others. And I thought that was fascinating when thinking of the Marlboro Man, because like what I took from that and the little bit I skimmed of it is with Marlboro, they're selling cigarettes and they're using the Marlboro Man to sell cigarettes. We as consumers some of us are consuming cigarettes, but even those of us that aren't consuming cigarettes are consuming the Marlboro Man. Like we see the ads and we cannot help but consume that sort of message on masculinity. So I think it's interesting that it's then they took it and it wasn't a thing that they paid for. These filmmakers took it and it wasn't a thing that Marlboro paid for, and they put him as a character in a movie. Like he was already like a character that we were like consuming and like trying to be like, and then now he's like in this movie that ultimately didn't do well.
And also his character does not smoke until he's extremely stressed out and then he's like, now I need a cigarette. Which just kind of undermines the whole Marlboro Man selling cigarettes thing.
I do remember being so confused about how this movie could exist when I was a kid. The title made no sense to me. And I was even like, shouldn't there be a Harley Davidson movie and a Marlboro Man movie separately first before we bring them together? It's like so weird that they're teaming up.
They would do that now.
Yeah. And then I'd never ever one time in my entire life ever watched the movie. And then when I watched it this time, it opened with this very kind of ominous black screen, white text filling the entire screen. It just says, the film title is not intended to identify or promote a product or trade name of existing companies. No company is approved, sponsored, or endorsed the title or content of this film, which is, I think, something you see, like, after the Kodak logo and credits of movies.
Yeah. Everything was fictitious.
But it was like full on screen for what felt like a prescribed legal length of time, like a very carefully negotiated number of seconds.
Clear block letters that filled the entire screen except for just the top and bottom. So like no matter how the theater matted it, it would still be in the center of the screen.
I may be incorrect. I think this is the font that was used at the opening of Martin Scorsese's The Last Waltz. Like this film must be played extremely loud. And it has that kind of, is that the font? I think it is. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but maybe it portends the many film references to other films that will be made during the runtime of this film. But yeah.
Just disavowed from the very beginning. Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. It made me think, like, I guess I could make a movie called Ronald McDonald about a man named Ronald McDonald.
And
there's nothing anyone could do about it, really.
Yeah. I think it was also that like
just don't try that with Disney. They'll find a way.
Harley Davidson had corporate kind of allegiances or like they were working with other cigarette companies, so they weren't working with Marlboro.
Could he be Mr. Winston in any way?
Mr. Winston.
Bring synergy to work.
And I remember it was something in the 90s. This was like, it was something that it had a lot with a lot of the Weinstein films that had been coming out, was that in a lot of in American movies, the cigarettes that characters were smoking were invariably Marlboros. When, if you realize like retail and use of cigarettes, there are people that use all kinds of brands, but your movie characters in American films will invariably, for like 95 to 2005, were invariably smoking Marlboro cigarettes. Isn't that interesting? So there's even if they can't advertise on television, they're working their way into our lives.
Too bad Durrell didn't have more money.
Yeah. Or maybe like American Spirit.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, for like more of the indie scene. I don't know, but yeah. But yeah, this is a pastiche action buddy comedy neo-western, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was another thing is
and a heist film.
I had no impression of this movie, like no like vague notion of what it was like. Never like and I was so curious when it started. Well, what kind of movie is this when it starts? Like, what's the tone of this movie? What is it about? How do these characters work together? And it opens with Bon Jovi's "Wanted Dead or Alive," which I was like, okay.
After we've learned it's set in the far-flung future of 1996.
Why? Why? Yeah, why? I don't know why. But
It's just enough into the future where things might have changed ever so slightly.
so it's Mickey Rourke is the Harley Davidson in a motel room. Wanted Dead or Alive starts playing. It plays the intro of the song, and as like the main acoustic hook starts, it just cuts to a nude woman who is otherwise never seen in the movie again. And I was like, that's what this movie's like. I get it now.
Yeah. It was kind of like I watched this on video when a little while after it came out, and this hits like 12-year-old kind of desires so much. Naked, women in the nude, guys hanging out, partying, getting up into hijinks, getting the bad guys. And I was also, just a part of me was like, the second they show her, and the actress is nude, and then they show Metro Goldwyn Mayer presents, like, you're blocking the main thing that I would want to look at as a 12-year-old in that. And I did notice as he's driving away, she's like hanging out on the porch, like, oh, I guess he's leaving, huh?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's nice you mentioned that because, like, speaking of 12-year-olds, because that was around the age I was when I watched this. And, this movie kind of like was the, like, I don't know, kind of like the final form of like the 80s action flick. Like we had all of the 80s where we had like the Schwarzenegger and the Stallone and Van Damme and all these like big movies. And then, the various sort of knockoffs of those. So there was just so many action movies that came out in that time. In some ways, when this came out in 91, when that period's starting to pass a little bit, I mean, it goes on for a little bit, but that we have this movie that seems to have every single like element that you would want if you were making an 80s action movie in it, especially for prepubescent boys or pubescent
who
boys
loved
or
R-rated
whatever.
films if they could get all of them.
It's like the 13-year-olds that got into an R-rated. It was like seemed to have everything you could want. One thing before we went from names, though, I want to point out is ever since I was a kid, the thing I loved about this movie are the names. Because not only do we have Marlboro Man, not only do we have Harley Davidson, but we also have Big John Seb playing Jack Daniels.
I did not notice that.
Eloy Casadas playing Jose Cuervo. And Chelsea Field playing Virginia Slim. And so if you look at the credits,
this detail
that was... I don't know. I always loved that.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I can't believe all those names are made. That's crazy. When my big question for this movie is like, what even is it? What is going on? And by the time I got to the end of the credits, I was like, well, it is a very strange style of action movie. You're right. It is a little bit late for that style. And so everything's a little bit off kilter about it for that style as well. And when I got to the end of it and the credits came up, I was like, oh, yeah, this is a movie that really makes you appreciate John Carpenter. You're like, oh, yeah, he was making movies of this style, but just getting them to, like, gel a lot better and, like, meeting the audience expectations maybe a little bit better. I was kind of comparing it directly to, because, I was trying to look at John Carpenter films and how they're budgeted, and it seemed that this one was more in the range. It's hard to compare the 1986 to 1991 budget dollars maybe, but it was like maybe in size and scope to something like Big Trouble in Little China, which I thought that was like another $25 million action movie.
Yeah.
But somehow that movie to me feels much bigger in scope with its, like the way it uses like special effects and the environments it travels through and the type of story it's telling, which is very much just a run and punch and shoot action movie the way this one is.
And its style is much more consistent. It is this kind of magical world and kind of bizarre. You have Kurt Russell as Jack Burton entering into this strange world that he doesn't understand, and he doesn't understand that he's not the main character in the story. So there's all that kind of wonderful kind of context. But yeah, this feels much more hodgepodge. Nothing. They're just all these different things that don't necessarily blend together as a film.
I would agree that to a point, but like one of the things I did think was really fascinating about this movie when I watched it the last, like I said, November and then today, I vaguely remember there being a heist, and I always love heist films, and usually heist films are building up to the big score, and this being a low budget action, you would think that like it would be most of the movie would be the build up to the big score, but I love how efficient this movie is in that 30 minutes in, we're past the big score, and the rest is like kind of focused on the fallout. So I thought that was actually kind of a novel thing that I hadn't seen too much in many action movies, is where like we have the heist, the thing that you usually come for right at the beginning, I mean, yeah, they decide in about 10 seconds to do it, and they somehow and all that, but and then the rest of the movie is just sort of the fallout from that, and like the sort of the long tail of just following of what would happen on those things, the ramifications. So I do think like that was like kind of like an actually interesting part of the movie to me, was that sort of structure. Not saying that you're not correct on the thing, on comparing it on the contrasts to Big Trouble in Little China.
I mean, it's also I don't mean to be making other film references, but this is full of it. It's also an homage to Sam Peckinpah's The Wild Bunch, which opens with the bank heist and everything.
Okay.
It opens with the climax, and everything is the fallout from that. Like the characters, everything's out of their control at that point.
So the writer basically just like watched and then
okay. And it's also a little bit when they do the heist, they think they're getting money to save the bar. So it's got some Roadhouse vibes there, and they find out that they've in the Wild Bunch it's like a fake out. They steal a bunch of washers because they knew they were going to rob the bank. That they had intel on them, and this one they accidentally steal the fictional drug Liquid Dreams, and then they have to deal with like in a lot of ways it seems like some kind of Michael Mann film, but with poor planning to it.
Yeah, but everything in this movie, it does have that kind of like 80s heightened unreality, like that everything's elevated to this like kind of like super heroic level. I always think of it as like this certain style of action where the action has like pro wrestling logic, where there's like an unreality there's a lack of consequences to the violence, and always you like portray the heroes of the movies as somehow like special or able to make this a dramatic comeback against incredible odds. Like I always think like in early, like in the first Star Trek, like Captain Kirk wins every fist fight, and if he doesn't, there's some insane reason why he can't. And these characters operate by that logic. I think in the heist, Don Johnson uses his Desert Eagle 45 caliber pistol, which is
a gift from Harley.
A big deal in the movie. This Desert Eagle pistol, and it is a really awesome looking gun in the movie. He's got this giant handgun.
It's huge,
and he shoots a man's belt off with it. I was like, oh, okay, that's what kind of movie this is.
Yeah,
and that's before 10 minutes later when Big John Stud body slides a motorcycle across the alley to shoot it and launch it like a bomb into the bad guy.
Well, and speaking of that, that's sort of like almost like pro wrestling logic or whatever. Like the fact that thing slides a good 100 to 200 feet, because they're far away. They seem when they're so like because I remember people watching this may not have seen it. After they try to steal the money, which they're actually stealing drugs, they don't know it. The guy on the truck pushes an alarm, and these suits come up wearing these like head or neck to toe trenches that are buttoned up that look like the Matrix, which is funny.
Yeah.
Because also there's the helicopter scene at the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very much.
But they come up and they pull up in a car. They all get out and they have some machine guns. And when they do that, like they look like they're a clear 200 feet away from them. And Big John Stud's Jack Daniels character drives in, and that bike just slides the whole way.
And they jump over it because it's coming so slow at that point. and then he throws a Zippo lighter at work because he's opened the gas tank, and so gasoline is magically flowing, so he lights it.
Which, like, it's funny because like they did that in Die Hard too. Whenever the plane takes off, he throws his a lighter or match down and blows up the plane.
But yeah, and it's just weird that there's an explosion behind us which will slow us down, and they seem so like ruthless and forward moving. I remember with some video I saw that talked about how these guys kind of look like Discount Matrix or something like that. And I have to also say what I appreciate about this film is the representation of guys who shop in the big and tall section. I mean, you've got Big John Stud, you've got Daniel Baldwin, Svev Ole Thorson, who is a bodybuilder who was in a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger films, is this big guy, and they're they're really husky looking, big, powerful looking dudes.
Bridgecombe, for his name, his character. So just so you know, is Big Indian. That's his character.
Yes.
But yeah, he's in there at the very first foe that he fights is him.
And you just have, you know, is it Barscombe Richmond? I believe?
I think so. Yeah.
And he's a stunt man, and he's been in like 170 films in small parts, and he's still doing stunt work.
He's one of those like that guys.
Yeah,
like,
you just see him
everywhere.
It's a nice little ode when he like is this guy that's really hard. You have to hit him a bunch of times before he finally falls. I just think it's a nice little.
Well, it's one of the things I think I enjoyed much more this time around was like I noticed all of the jokes much more than when I was 12. So like whenever Don Johnson takes that pool ball, the white one, and like hits him in the head, and then hits him in the head again, and you hear like there's a sound like they put in there that sounds kind of like a crack, and he goes and does this sort of, you get this sort of just a brief like look from Don Johnson's character as he's like, what the hell, and then hits him again.
One thing I really admired about Don Johnson's introduction in the film is he shoots a very legibly choreographed game of pool.
Yes.
Which I think is not always true in the movies. Like particularly like cheaper movies, people will stand around a pool table and they will do things, but very rarely do they choreograph out an exact pool sequence and then shoot it properly. Not the movie did a good job of that. Where it's like, he's
acting
really
throughout the whole thing. Yeah. Not only is he like delivering lines, he's like doing business with the cigarette and his hat and
that's him shooting pool. I think
getting pool right in film is harder than it seems. I think until you think, oh, it'd be so easy, but then until you're laying it out, you're like, oh no, it has to be very precisely choreographed where everything goes so the blocking works the whole time.
And there's so many different angles on that shot.
He goes around the whole table.
Exactly. And it's not like a oneer where they just like hold it, which like, so like how many times do they have to reset that and redo it? Oh my word!
And then you also have the nude stripper in the background.
Oh yeah.
She's like on a motorbike, and I mean it's just, these are like people who do action films and think about these things and like how can we make this look a little more dynamic? So, but I also think going back to the black trench coat guys, those are some of the worst fitting. I mean, you need. Big people need someone to properly fit them. They're just like wrinkly and they look kind of like trash bag. I think it's just a really missed opportunity. We're like, we got these big guys, we got the extra large leather jackets, and they just look like they're wearing trash bags. Yeah. And I think they all deserved so much better.
Yeah. Well, there's part of me that like wonders, almost kind of hopes that the Wachowski sisters watched that movie and were kind of like, we can do that so much better. Yeah. And did the Matrix costumes, and then did the helicopter scene at the end.
But that helicopter stunt at the end is so close.
And it was, and like the thing that gets me, so like at the end of the movie, when whenever they've come, everything's went down. Their friends have died. They're finally going to just give the drugs back, and they just want to say like we're done with it. They're going to wash their hands of everything. And the Tom Sizemore character that they're, is not going to let him do that. And as they're waiting there, a guy, one of his other employees that Marlboro Man and Harley Davidson paid off, and lowers a helicopter down, and then opens up machine guns. So, which if you're listening or watching. It's like you're describing the scene from The Matrix, right? Yeah. No, it's exactly that, and he just like fires throughout the whole office.
Yeah. I watched that part of the movie, and then I rewound the movie. Because I could not figure out why is the helicopter pilot doing this now. Like I was like, did I miss when they turned him good?
Alexander, man.
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, a lot of things in this movie just start happening. Like, like now I'm the helicopter pilot, but now I'm on your side, and
Alexander told him to shut the F up.
Yeah,
when they were there, and so I thought again, a very efficient movie, man. It was like, okay,
yeah.
This helicopter pilot hates that guy because they're all jerks.
Yeah. The movie tends to it has like. A dramatic tension will arise. Like, what are we going to do about this? And then the answer is, it's the beginning of the next scene. It's already happening. It propels itself very fast. Yeah. Like, it's not like, how are we going to get back to the skyscraper and what are we going to do? It's just like, I'm the helicopter pilot and I'm on your side now. Let's go.
Yeah, I think this is the one thing. It's the film's an hour and 36 minutes, so it's not particularly long. And this
is one thing. I think this is evidence of a movie from a film era gone forever. Because I was so excited when I opened up this movie. I watched it on Tubi, and I launched it on Tubi, and it said 98 minutes, and I was like, oh yes, like
How many, so you mentioned the scene of them going back to the scene where they end up at the villain's skyscraper.
The Great Trust Bank, which you should totally trust.
Yes. But the thing is, immediately, you saying that made me think of, if this movie were made today, we would have a lot of, business and a full sequence of them going from the billboard to the building that we obviously don't need.
Yeah. There'd be a whole other hour of this movie of just, meandering nonsense. But this movie was laser focused. Just
I know what we're here for.
I do think it looked. I don't know, but I feel like they cut some not stupid action stuff, but character stuff. So the pilot's name is Tom, played by Robert Ginty, who is billed in the credits. And there's one scene where he's taking Daniel Baldwin's black trench coat. Alexander, the trench coat villains, and he's like, it's just like Kason, he was a Vietnam vet, and then they're giving him a bunch of crap and telling him, so he's like, I don't care. I feel like just that one scene doesn't that they would actually bully and nag him the whole time, which would convince his turnaround, and also why is he billed where he is?
Yeah.
Same thing with Tia Carrera, who just is an office staff person and had been in
really does nothing in the movie.
No, it does not.
Stands there.
And this was a couple months before Wayne's World, which was kind of her big breakout. But yeah, that helicopter, Deus Ex attack chopper. It is the perfect God in the box moment.
Yeah.
And the Virginia Slims character played by Chelsea Field.
Yeah.
Is she, Marlboro Man shows up to say, just want to tell you, I really cared about you and you're important to me. And then he leaves and we never hear from her again. So I feel like there's maybe 5 or 10 minutes where they could at least fill in some gaps. And I feel like back in the days, it was an late August film release, which is a graveyard. So they knew this thing was going to bomb and they just stuck it and they cut it down to try to get as many screenings as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that would have made that scene, which I think is actually a pretty good scene, honestly. They have the Waylon Jennings Hardline song playing, and it's played it this way where it's not loud, it's just kind of low, almost like an echo. And he goes up to Virginia's house, and her husband's there.
Her husband to be, or fiance.
Yeah, her fiance's there, and she and Don Johnson have this talk about what you were talking about there. It's a really good scene, I think, and I think you're saying that would have probably hit a little bit harder if we'd had a little bit more about that.
And what was the other thing? I think too. Never mind. Go ahead.
I did like that scene the way it opened. Because can you imagine you're in the house asleep with your wife and Don Johnson knocks on the door for her?
Yeah, handsome bearded Don Johnson.
I need to speak to your wife. Okay, sir, I guess.
In cowboy cosplay.
I'll tell her you're
here. It's I just grab my keys and walk out the door at that point.
Who am I to step in the way of this, sir? I can't.
But I had it on closed caption, which I have to say I had to turn all these memorable actors and character actors, and yet this is some of the most mellow line delivery ever caught on film. I had to turn up the volume to hear actually just what are they saying, and there's in that scene where Marlboro Man shows up to Virginia Slim's house. You can hear he's just a guy I really care about. What would you have me do? Something
he's a guy I really care about.
He's I don't know, your fiance, maybe not talk to him.
And also, so this is a town, this is Burbank, California, where they put in an international airport and the Concorde flies in.
Well, it's 1996, Cody.
Yes,
come on.
Yes. But here's the thing: that there's no law and order. These people are just randomly getting away with whatever criminal activity they want, to the point where Marlboro, you can go find the cops, but you have to track them down and aggravate them for them to follow you. And so he literally, and okay, so this movie, if there's one thing that it's trying to make be an homage / remake of, it's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They hit a lot of the points. Harley is Butch and the Marlboro Man is Sundance. And there was the whole, in that film, the Robert Redford character and Catherine Ross, they have this, there's a scene in it where she's a teacher and he shows up and he looks like he's an outlaw. And it's like, keep going, teacher. And then it's just like foreplay before they hook up or whatever. And it's the same thing. Like they're just going to aggravate each other and have dangerous bike rides through urban and suburban areas and commercial areas. And then they go and get it on or whatever. Yeah. So
and they do the leap. I thought that was an interesting big action set piece, like leaping off of the hotel into the pool. I thought it was compellingly presented. For some reason, this was the one part of the movie where I was like, I've seen this image before, and the only thing I can think of was like, Don Johnson must have brought that clip to Regis and Kathy Lee or something when I was a kid. Like, but I thought like trapped on the roof of the hotel. I was like, it is a good like buddy movement, and I didn't realize until this moment that it is direct. That happens in Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, right?
They're cornered by the posse that's trying to get them.
That's exactly what happens in this movie.
Yeah. But it is kind of funny. At one point, Harley goes to hold my hand and we'll jump together. He's like, I ain't jumping, and then he finally jumps.
Yeah. Well, and I love it when he jumps. You hear him screaming, "I hate you, Harley!" Which again, like thinking of like how much fun Don Johnson has with this role, it's like you could, and I think everyone's having a blast in this movie. Like it seems like everyone had a good time,
with the exception of Mickey Rourke.
With the exception probably of Mickey Rourke, but he showed up, man.
He did show up. Yeah,
he does the part, man.
Do you guys like Mickey? I don't have an impression of Mickey Rourke from this period of time. I don't remember ever watching a movie from the 80s or 90s with Mickey Rourke in it, and I don't think I really understood Mickey Rourke as a performer until late in his like renaissance, like like Sin City and The Wrestler is when I was like, oh yeah, I can name Mickey Rourke as an interesting actor. But I didn't grow up watching Mickey Rourke.
I mean, he had a real he was like Pope of Greenwich Village and some diner. He was like really like respected as an actor, and he was going to be I'm going to be a serious actor. And
when he in I mean, I haven't seen it, but when he in that sort of like horror film with Robert De Niro, Angel Heart. Yeah, he's the detective in that. And so he had like a really like he was gonna be this actor was gonna be very selective about his roles, and then he's someone that's very combustible and prone to violence, and that I think that got him in a lot of trouble. And so I had read that he got paid $4 million to do Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, and he thought he was selling out. Which after this film, it led him to go because his early part of his life he was a boxer, and so he got into boxing, and he took some damage in that. If you notice, say this is 91, he's a real good looking dude, and then you get to something like The Wrestler, and like what happened to his face is because he had endured a lot of damage in the ring. But I mean, again, it's also like he's still Mickey Rourke. So I think it's interesting that this film catches both Don Johnson and Mickey Rourke at this kind of descent point before, because Johnson was in between Miami Vice, and then a couple of years later he did Nash Bridges. And
Don Johnson was a very, very successful television actor, and he has been in movies consistently. But I don't think he ever have a huge film role from the 80s or 90s?
I think
this was it.
This is interesting because it's like it reminds me of you remember NYPD Blue. And
David Caruso.
Yeah. He was in that movie Jade. Was it Jade?
He was in this other one that was kind of like put with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I remember that one too. It was a remake of something. Yeah. But anyway, like those are his two sort of like big film movies at that time, and they went nowhere. And so then he had to eventually ended up on CSI Miami.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if that was a similar thing with John Johnson. Is like Miami Vice, it was a huge thing.
Let's capitalize on Miami Vice.
Become a movie star, and then it was like. At that, I think it was probably more common at that time because I think today they moved between.
Yeah, TV it's
and
a little like you're either.
Yes, yeah.
But then it was
very much you were one or the other.
TV actor.
Yeah, being a TV actor was like you were not a box office draw.
Exactly.
That's why you were a TV actor.
Yeah.
It was an amazing quote. I saw it a little while ago. The wonderful British actor was Rosamund Pike of Pride and Prejudice. She was in the most recent Saltburn. Really, and one of the things that she was asking a rhetorical question. She was like wanting to ask a question that the audience wasn't asking, and she basically said, somebody asked me once, like, how do you pick your roles? And she's like, well, I get hired by them, that I go and audition. And that we often think about, like, a lot of these cases, these actors this is what was available and what they hired me for and what I auditioned for. And it's a job. And it's this kind of constructing this kind of, and it's very rare, maybe David Caruso thought that he's going to be a big movie star, and then he left, and then nobody watched his films, which were pretty good, actually. And then you have very few. You're talking about your Leonardo DiCaprio type level actors who they get to pick their roles and things like that, Angelina Jolie or somebody like that. And it's like everything that we kind of, how we frame people's acting decisions, that's what they were hired for. As an actor, as an auteur, it's like, well, it's the roles they hired me for.
Yeah.
So.
Which was why you end up a lot of times with like such a stacked cast who at the time, Giancarlo Esposito, he'd done School Days and he'd done Do the Right Thing and some other stuff, obviously, but like I didn't consider him a huge name until like,
Breaking Bad
and stuff.
And I think particularly too, since like Breaking Bad, like his portrayal as Gus Fring is that that has become so iconic, that stoic presentation. You forget that he was like a firecracker back then. Like, and his character in this was so fun.
I want this energy of Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah,
like I want him back.
Yeah, I would love to see him in a role like this again.
I love Gus Fring.
Yeah,
and his other roles that he's got from that, the American accented Gus Fring that's in all the other movies. Or English, U.S. And I love those, but like, School Days and like Do the Right Thing, and then this movie, like his energy in this movie and those movies, I'm just like, I want that one.
Bugging Out is one of the funniest, most energetic performances you've ever seen. Yeah, I would love to see him go to that place again.
Because like he still has that. Because like there was a TikTok or whatever I saw recently of this guy that just like randomly goes up to people and asks them about their fit. He's in New York, so he runs into famous people, and he ran into him, to Giancarlo, and like the sort of energy and charisma that he has, and just as a human being, walking down the streets of New York, I'm like, why do we not get more movies with him?
Yeah. But I thought this in 1991. I was like, oh yeah, this was exactly the kind of role he was fit for, which is like the sort of like loud comic character in a movie like this. I was like actually pumped when I saw him. I was like, oh yeah.
I do think he really stands out because I think all the other actors, I swear, they seem to have all taken a Valium before they did their scenes.
I thought Mickey Rourke had the weirdest energy in this movie. Yeah. Like he gave off to me like difficult energy. Like, I have spent all day being difficult, and this is the footage they're getting.
Yeah. And I love the early work. He's very like, he's very almost underplaying things, so this would be in line with that, but it does feel like I'm doing it for a paycheck. I'm just going through my lines, and his charisma comes out, but he's like, I'm not.
It ends up kind of, I would say it actually ends up being kind of a good thing, because he's paired with Don Johnson, who is a lot more outgoing. It actually keeps them like fully separate. It's where you don't like confuse the two.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is for something that like has this kind of pro wrestling quality to it, everyone seems to be very chill. Particularly Big John Studd in his role. He's just really kind of sweet.
Yeah.
I have to admit, probably the most tender erotic scene of the film is when he and his character Jack Daniels and
Lulu.
No. It's when he and Harley, they fall out there. They crash into a car outside, which I'm sure the bar owner was really pissed off about. But then they're like,
he parked his car there again.
He was gonna kill him, and then they take in a tender embrace. Like, I can't kill you, man. You did cheat. You betrayed me, having slept with my wife or future wife or something like that. But it just is like he just can't kill him because he's his friend.
Yeah.
I forgot about Vanessa Williams is another great performer this movie doesn't know what to do with. Like, she's just kind of
She
around
has
the
4
edges of
songs
this.
in this movie. I don't know if you picked up on that. She has 4 different songs in this movie.
And I bet it only took one day to shoot her scenes because she does musical numbers, and at the one part, like, she's ready to go, and Jack is like, henpecked, like, of course, let's go, honey. And that's it.
Yeah.
And we never see the fallout of, like, what, is she upset about her husband died? That's another thing. Like, maybe we could have done 2 minutes of, like, I'm sad or I'm moving on or something like that.
It'd been hard to because he was already dead.
Yeah.
Essentially. Because it was like later that night, they come by and they just blow everyone away.
It does seem like a movie that wants, it has all these crazy characters in it, that it wants to collect them all and assault the skyscraper at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But instead it's just like, let's just kill them all 20 minutes earlier, and then we'll just do a helicopter thing.
Yeah, it is that let's just kill all our lovable side characters. Jose Cuervo, who is Eloy Chavez, I believe was his
name.
Yes, and he's not deaf or hard of hearing, but he plays a deaf character who uses sign language, and it's kind of nice to see just any sort of representation like that.
That's one of the things I was watching at this time was really impressed by. Is like for a movie like about 2 white dudes, like that's the movie's about these 2 white dudes.
The whitest dudes possible, Harley Davidson and the Marlboro.
Exactly. But for a movie about these like the 2 whitest dudes possible, this is an incredibly diverse cast. Like I was thinking of like especially within the realm of like action movies.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can think of between this and now that was like kind of is not just diverse but like sort of like effortlessly diverse. Like it just so happens that these characters are diverse. Is like the Fast movies. Like Fast Furious after Tokyo Drift. Like they just kept bringing in different people, and it felt very organic, and they had a massively like diverse cast for a movie that was like a big budget success.
This movie does have an interesting connection to that too, because I do think like what motivates Harley Davidson is he has to say, I think the bar is called this, like the Rock and Roll
It's
Club.
the Rock and Roll Bar.
The Rock and Roll. The Rock and Roll
No food.
Bar
I don't see any food
Grill.
there.
The reason he has to save the Rock and Roll Bar and Grill is because that's his family. He's like, this feels like home to me. And he has this broad found family of the Rock and Roll Bar and Grill that is under threat by the guys in trench coats.
And at one point he says like, oh, if we didn't have this place, we'd be face down in a gutter with a needle in our arms. And it's just like, wow, dude, that's dark. But yeah, this is a bar that creates community and saves people. Also, just a wonderful deal. The owner had a 30-year lease at $350 a month. Is just like insane, and they want to $2.5 million for. It feels very topical for our day about raising rents on small business.
I think we get that too with like the Burbank stuff about Burbank International Airport, because like I don't know if you noticed, but like the thing that the claim to fame of the Rock and Roll Bar and Grill is that a plane crashed into it. So they have that plane on the top of the bar and grill, and then behind Mr. James, I forgot his first name, the old guy.
Yeah,
behind
Julius
him,
Harris.
Huh?
Julius Harris is the actor.
Another great actor. Yeah. But behind him, there's like the framed news headline of that plane crashing into that bar. And it's just sort of like, so like I do think there's some sort of thing that they're playing with like Hollywood, Burbank, whatever, and like California and like airports and like construction or something. Because then they also dress up as construction workers too.
Yeah. Well, I think like Burbank's where I remember it's like they would film things like game shows. There's a lot of studios there, so they would film like game shows and things like that there.
Stuff like that's all in Burbank.
It's kind of a company town. Yeah. So in the Los Angeles area.
I got fascinated by Tom Sizemore gives a big speech at the end of the movie where he like describes his salary.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like, I make $500,000 a year to be this executive. I make $50 million a year to sell these drugs.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I understand.
And I was just listening. I was like, $500K to be the CEO of an international corporation I don't think those numbers align to modern values. You're underpaid, Tom Sizemore.
Yeah, he really is.
And like I said at the top, I think that character is like the only character that doesn't seem to like hit like all the other ones do. Because like I the writing is serviceable. It's not like it's what it's for that type of movie. It's fine, and like throughout it, all the characters, like, because they're such great actors, do a lot with what they're given.
Yeah.
I think they do more than what the actual text it has. But then we get to Tom Sizemore, who I think was a phenomenal actor. I was a big fan of him in the 90s whenever I was a kid. He was one of the... Because I liked action movies. So, like, anytime... So, a lot of the big character actors were people I was a fan of.
What was he from in the 90s that you were a big fan of?
Well, he was in a bunch of stuff because he was in that, and he was also in Natural Born Killers. He was the sleazy... Scagnetti, yeah. And then,
he was in Heat.
Heat, of course. He was in Heat, yeah. And then he was in a bunch of, like, not straight to video, but those sort of like Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man type movies, too. And for whatever reason, like, his character and his lines... like just didn't. I was just like kind of not even really engaged with his character.
I did,
and I should be.
It did seem like for most of the movie, I was like, why is Tom Sizemore in this role? It's like seems like a miscast. And I finally clicked for me at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
is like the Marlboro Man comes in and Tom Sizemore's on the phone. And he shoots the phone and it explodes.
Yeah.
And Tom Sizemore has no reaction. He just turns and looks and starts talking. And I realized I think there's a disconnect between the way the character's written, the way he's directed, and like how Tom Sizemore is trying to perform. Because he's supposed to just be ice cold.
Yeah.
And it just reads as really flat in the performance, I think.
I can see that.
I'm supposed to be...
Because that was a great bit right there with the phone. That was a great bit.
Yeah. He's supposed to be unmovable.
Yeah.
Like the coldest man, and it just doesn't.
Because if you're pushing drugs like this for $50 million, making $50 million a year, you gotta have like that sort of like that'd be a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I think maybe it wasn't written as exciting, and it doesn't come off as exciting until the very end. I think I was like supposed to be. Oh, I think I'm supposed to be excited by how calm this guy is.
Yeah.
Whereas it maybe just comes off sleepy in the when you're watching the movie.
Yeah, I think he was on Valium, which is like everybody else in the film, and this is one of the things, I don't know how good his Japanese is, but he certainly speaks some Japanese style language with great enthusiasm. And it's like, does he know Japanese? I feel like he's not tentative about it, at least. I don't know how good or bad it is, but it seems he's confident in it.
Yeah.
And then I think that you have the ending where it just seems very strange, where the Marlboro Man cannot shoot Tom Sizemore's character, Chance Wilder. I don't know if that was his name in the listing, in the cast list. But he can't shoot him because he's an unarmed man. And then we give all these reasons, like he sells drugs, he killed all your friends, he tried to kill you.
Well, his pop always said before he left us, you don't shoot an unarmed man.
Yeah. And oddly, he is defeated by Chekhov's duct taped cowboy boot.
Exactly. And the callback to the throwing the gun.
Yeah.
So that's like, I think one of the things that's interesting about this movie is like it has a bunch of things that it's clearly like it has a lot of clear intention.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it's like a badly made movie. And like I think it definitely seems to be kind of like commenting on action movies and probably like Hollywood Town type stuff and everything, but it just seems to, I don't know if it's like a thing that doesn't seem to come together, or if it was just an aspect of where they were making it, they wanted to make it so people like would get it, or if people who didn't get it would enjoy it. Like I'm always reminded of the movie Gods and Monsters with Brendan Fraser and Ian McKellen, and Ian McKellen plays James Well, director of Frankenstein.
And Bride of Frankenstein.
And there's this amazing scene in that movie that I've always has stuck with me, where Ian McKellen's James Well is talking to Brendan Fraser's character about how like the monster in Frankenstein is actually him, because he was a closeted gay man. And to him, the movie Frankenstein is a comedy. But he said the trick is, you got to make it so that folks that don't get the joke still enjoy the movie. And so it's this idea that we see it as a horror film, but like to him it's a comedy, and if you get that, then that's fine. But if you don't get it, you can still enjoy it. And I'm not saying this is Gods and Monsters. Please do not quote me saying this is Gods and Monsters.
Maybe that's why. Maybe I thought.
But it seems that thing. Like if you just like action movies,
yeah.
Like my dad wouldn't have probably got the tongue-in-cheek stuff so much, but he would have liked it as an action movie.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I so wanted to compare this to like a John Carpenter movie where it is like a big, broad action movie, but with like irony and like commentary and a point to it. I did feel like that movie had just all those elements buzzing around it, but they just didn't gel together correctly.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it's a film that it makes sense that this is a film that's kind of got something of a cult following after it was initially released, because it, on the surface, it's this absurd action film when it is this absurd pastiche kind of absurdist commentary on action films and things like that. I think that there's certainly a lot of things that delight me about this film. I enjoyed this film. It's a fun film to watch. And I'm okay with it not being a great film.
Yeah,
Yeah. I wish there were. I mean, it sounds weird, but I do wish there were more movies like this made.
Yeah.
Just because, like back in the day, it seemed like there used to be a lot of this type of movie, and like that you could like throw on, and it didn't feel like the world was at stake when you're watching it, as far as like the stakes involved, and I don't know. It just feels like this movie was released in a time where like you'd have these sort of genre pictures where the characters where it was ridiculous, like this is a ridiculous movie in a lot of ways, but all the actors are really great character actors that even if it's a paycheck job, they did the job they were hired for. It's like I mentioned Time Cop earlier. I always liked Ron Silver in Time Cop because he's such a great actor, and Time Cop's dialogue is so ridiculous, much like this film in some ways. And but it's Ron Silver, so when he delivers the line, he has this line in the movie I always love in Time Cop where he said he's talking to a past version of himself who interrupts him or something, and he's like, oh no, someone interrupts him talking to his past version, and he's like, don't interrupt me when I'm talking to myself. And it's like, it's funny and it's great because it's Ron Silver. And I feel like we don't get as many of those anymore, of like genre pictures, like, interesting thing is I thought was funny was like the next film this guy made, Simon Windsor, was Free Willy. And that was like a huge, big success.
Yeah.
Made like, I don't know, 150 million or more.
Had a Michael Jackson song in it.
Yeah, that was the second one.
Oh, the second one.
Yeah.
Oh no, the first one has a song too.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay. But the first one also, but the movie also has Michael Madsen.
Yeah.
Who seems like he should be in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like there was something that happened that that he should be in here, but I don't know if that would be just too much for the movie in some ways.
I mean, I will say also that like there are a variety of representations of masculinity in the film, and our two main characters are fit. Yeah. But they are not ridiculous. They're not like, I spend 5 hours a day in the gym. Like, I always feel like it's when The Rock showed up to Hollywood that everybody's like, everybody's got to look like they spend 3 hours a day in the gym.
Yeah.
And these guys are like, okay, I don't know what Marlboro Man does for a job, but Harley works on motorcycles and wanders the land. So he would probably be fairly fit, but he's not like ripped.
No,
so.
yeah. Well, and even like they got Big John Studd, who there was a time like 5, probably 8 years before this, where Big John Studd was a lot smaller, and I really like the fact that like he's in this movie and they're not trying to like. I mean, I know part of them was probably like thinking, or I assume, this is a wrestler. We want to have a big burly guy, some guy that can really kind of move himself. Wrestlers are pretty good, like physical actors in that way. So I could see them thinking that, but I really dug it that they like put him in like shirts that don't really hide the fact that he's kind of a big guy.
Yeah, his huge arms and
and they're not like super like not ripped, but
cut.
Cut. He's not super. He's not cut or anything. He's just like looks like just like a big strong guy.
Looks like a guy who's a bouncer at a bar.
Exactly.
Definitely an action movie before our modern obsession with bodybuilders and action.
Yeah.
Maybe like a movie like Roadhouse, where everybody's tough, but they aren't like.
Yeah. It seems like in between, like you had Arnold and Sly, and all those guys are like totally ripped in on some sort of performance enhancer, and then you had your diehards, more kind of that guy's fit, but he's not ridiculous. It's kind of in this kind of in between zone where it's like it's just a regular guy, like Indiana Jones does heroic stuff, but he's just a fit guy. He's not super powered or anything, although he seems to survive. So yeah.
I watched this movie on Tubi with commercial interruptions, and that made me think that, this is a movie for a bygone era, and watching it with commercial interruptions felt really right. I was like, this feels like the way to do it. This is a movie this is when you're supposed to watch it. It's supposed to be still winter, but it's not football season. You've got 4 channels, and this movie comes on Fox 11, and you spend 2.5 hours watching this 90-minute movie.
TBS.
With full commercial interruptions. And I was like, this is the way to experience it. And it really is designed for just like an era of like movie consumption that's like gone forever.
It does seem like it was edited and cut together, maybe even written to be like, we're going to play this in some theaters, and if it's not a hit, we're going to sell it to TV, and that's where we'll make our money.
Yeah. And it was just like, this is a size of movie that's gone, a style of movie that's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't something long for, but just out of curiosity, if y'all were making this, if you were making this film today, who might you cast in the role of Harley Davidson in the Marlboro Man, just for chuckles?
I would keep the cast the same, just bring him back.
Yeah, did you be like a legacy sequel?
Yeah, I think Ian's hit it there. I think we need a legacy sequel of Harley Davidson Marlboro. It's funny you mention that because I was looking online for stuff about this film. And one of the things I found out, it said like Harley Davidson Marlboro Man 2026. And I was like, what? They're not doing that. It's AI. It ended up being AI.
Oh,
and on YouTube, there's an AI trailer. I didn't watch it because it's an AI trailer. So why?
Even why make the AI trailer? I don't know.
But they had Tom Hardy as what looked very much to be the Mickey Rourke character because he's wearing a black leather jacket and he has short hair.
They probably just co-op footage from the bikers.
And Jason Momoa as the Don Johnson character because he had the hair. Because clearly they want to update this movie, and so he has the hair length and kind of a cut as Don Johnson does.
Yeah. Oh my gosh!
And he's wearing a brown jacket because he has a brown vest.
So. Yeah, Jason Momoa does feel like the new millennium's Don Johnson.
I mean,
there's like a household name, generally sexy in every household in America.
Fun-loving guy,
but fitting with the current sort of like you have to be ripped.
Yeah, action vibes, but like inoffensively sexy. Don Johnson.
Yeah, Don Johnson.
I would think if I made it today, this is the crazy. I would double cast Michael Shannon as both. Maybe I saw the Netflix show Death by Light, and I'm like, man, that Michael Shannon, man, he's a good actor. And have him be both Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, and do like a double thing.
All right.
I just think that would be fun. I don't know if that would be good, but I would want to see it. So
well, much like this movie, even if it wasn't good, he'd be good in it.
Yes. I think one little thing I was really liked about the film was also there's no CGI in this film. There's like actual camera like the opening shot is this tracking shot down, which I thought was really well done. And one of the big showdown between the henchman and Alexander's henchman and our heroes is in an airplane graveyard, which is it was shot at Davis Monthy Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, which is something that the military has, is just these acres and acres of decommissioned planes, and these are all these World War II. So these are characters fighting in the graveyard of a bygone era, as they are also becoming a bygone era. I think it's really, and this is also a reference to the film The Best Years of Our Lives, where Dana Andrews, as he's trying to get back home, he happens upon this big decommissioned airplane graveyard, and he's like, this is all they're coming back from World War II, and he just happens upon this, and he sees like a fighter plane a plane that he used to fly in. And so it has this kind of melancholic quality to it, but also it's just a great physical location to shoot anything in, because it's just something like, oh, we'll have to do this in the cube or the surround or whatever. The what is that one called? The volume or whatever. Like,
going to a real place and like using it as like, yes, a place that exists and finding it and making it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because like I was watching this with Jillian earlier today, and when the third time they end up in that graveyard, she was like, "They really like this set. They really like this location, don't they?" And I'm like, "Yes, but look at the location." She's like, "Oh, I know. It is a great location. I would shoot as much as I could there.
Do the whole movie there."
I do think the movie did feel like that. How it was kind of like stuck in circles. Like we kept escaping from a set piece to come back to it, instead of like propelling ourselves forward, like going from the bar to the graveyard to the skyscraper. It's like always back and forth, back and forth.
Well, in the opening montage of the film, there's a shot of the motorcycle wheels, and then when they cross into California, the state sign goes spinning, and then it cuts to a propeller, and so you have this motif of things going around in circle, which I think is very apt to the film and the characters.
I love that. That's because I noticed that today too. And right before it even does to the wheel and the state sign, it uses, because it's like a shot from the back looking at the sun, and it gets to where the light fills the camera, like so where you get the lens flare type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like a green lens flare that then like becomes an entire circle.
Yeah.
Which that would be a very difficult shot to pull in time. And then it cuts to the wheel and the sign and then the propeller.
Yeah.
And so that's like a really, I don't know, that was a great like short little sequence there.
I mean, this even feels like action film end stage parody phase kind of. This is the end of the line kind of action film moment, and it's just, we're just going in circles. the characters are basically in the same places they were when they started, and one of them, I was like, Marlboro Man gets back on the horse and does what his dad does, but it's just, and then Harley Davidson just rides off.
Harley Davidson does just return to the exact circumstances he's at the beginning of the movie.
He finds a lady and drives off. So
well, because he's always going nowhere, man.
So it is a film where we always feel like we're just running in circles.
Well, and then, I mean, what is a rodeo? Like the rodeo, you're kind of in a big ring, and you kind of, you're not racing to the other side.
Yeah, you just got to hold on for 8 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. So this, it's kind of poignant in that way, and sad, and it was a dying era of filmmaking, but. Maybe a nice little coda to the action films of the 80s. So, any other final thoughts you all have? Reflections?
I will say that, like, with action movies, you always want the really cool catchphrase, like, "I'll be back," It's better to be dead and cool than alive and uncool. Not on that list. Not on that list. Like, it's said once, and you're like, yeah, all right. And then they call back to it, and you're just like, oh, no, this is not that catchphrase, guys.
This is not the appropriate context.
No, this is not the catchphrase. This is not your thing. This is not the, no.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Ian?
It was just a wild one to look back at. You're right. I think you're right. This is the end of an era. It's like we hung in the saddle a little too long with these action movies, and this is like the long in the tooth. We're done with this genre.
Yeah, and it kind of, I think the action films were blockbusters and more kind of high concept, franchise influenced. You even see like Die Hard with a Vengeance have this really cool concept of a couple of years later of just John McClane running around New York. And so there really wasn't these kind of like mid-budget action films anymore.
That's true, because like we had right around this time we had not long after we had True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then because his run in the 90s is all that, because there's a Racer, which I had it was like a futuristic thing, and then like End of Days that he did towards the end of this decade. So like now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of the 90s actioners seem to kind of go much bigger. Probably the only hit I can think of from the 90s that was somewhere close to the scale of this film was like Speed.
Yeah. But it's a real high concept. Like
It's a high concept, yeah.
The bus can't go over 50 miles.
Exactly,
50 miles
but
an
like
hour.
that's the closest as far as like scale of like size or like the size of the movie and stuff. But yeah, most of them seem to be much bigger, either endeavors or concepts and things like that.
And I think just a few years later, this would be a direct-to-video release.
Yeah,
So,
it does. Yeah, it has that direct-to-video feel.
I'm glad we missed the one that stars Lorenzo Lamas. I'm really glad about that.
Oh yeah.
Because if it was, that would have been who they would have had to put in there.
Oh no.
Lorenzo Lamas, man.
Yes. that is your TV syndication direct to DVD action hero. So yeah. Well, it's great talking to y'all about them. Thank you, Nathan, for suggesting this
thank you
film.
for bringing this one.
I just, it's not great, but I really enjoy a film like this.
I had a lot of fun. I know we're gonna wrap it up, but I love the cost of bullets gag. Like I love that so much.
Yeah.
Like that is like the era where they should have figured out a good catchphrase, and because like I love that moment where he's like, well, you spent $12 and you didn't hit a thing. And then like Marlboro Man has that line where he's like, there says something about them being there and they're spending a fortune because they have some machine guns. And I'm just like, that's some good beats right there, man. So,
and then he ends up there's a hostage situation. He ends up shooting. Harley shoots the Marlboro Man once after he's already been shot in the arm. So yeah, which is a bit of an echo to the final showdown in 48 hours. I'm sorry, but yeah, this is just a film made of other films. It is a Frankenstein action film, really, when you get down to it. So. All right.
I think it fits.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, I think that fits. I know. I think that fits too, though, because like where it does seem to be tongue in cheek in a lot of ways, and there is a sort of camp factor to it.
Yeah.
So I think that being made of other films is kind of like, well, how many ways can we blow something up?
Yeah.
I just meant you just mentioned this as feeling very direct to DVD. I forgot that I'd made some notes about the screenwriters' other films. He wrote Tremors 5, 6, and 7, which I believe were direct to DVD. Yeah. And then he wrote another big credit he wrote Half Past Dead, which was the final theatrical Steven Seagal film before he moved to direct to DVD. This is a story from a storyteller is very directly tied to that direct to DVD era, I think.
Yeah. And he's Don Michael Paul seems to be pretty regular. I mean, he's an actor too, and he seems to be regularly employed as a.
He directed a couple of those Tremors movies too.
Oh yeah. And it is. I think maybe it is just a story from like that direct to DVD era is over. Just a story style and a story presentation from a film market that just doesn't exist anymore.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I guess they have it. They'll have it on like your streaming sites for free or something like that, or the original movies coming out through Fandango at home. Or
one of the things with that, I'm sorry, I know you're all wanting to wrap up.
No, that's fine. Sorry.
One of the things I think about that though is like that era, the era in the sort of aughts to now, or the teens to now, Netflix and streaming. You have those straight to streaming like actioners. They seem to have a somewhat bankable star, like someone that's like C-list or B-list maybe, and then the rest of the cast isn't filled with like good character actors.
Yeah, a
lot of times whereas this one has a lot of great character actors in it, and I think that's kind of another big shift is that the more modern lower budget genre films like this, they don't seem to, I don't want to say they don't care as much, but like it just seems like they were making this movie, they kind of knew what it was a paycheck movie, they were making it lower budget, and they were like, but we're going to make sure we get people in it that do their job.
Yeah. Which is the same thing that like Michael Bay does. He always has like a lot of actors who have been regulars in like Coen brother films. He doesn't like, he wants good actors in saying whatever gibberish or absurdly small role. And I think that is, and it's something that pushes a lot of actors to do more like television because it's more steady, and that's where the work seems to be in streaming shows and television at this point, instead of like I can do like a couple movies in a sporting role or something. So I wish something like this would make a comeback. I know it would look different from what it looks like now, but yeah,
a lot more CG.
Yeah, I long for I love the practicality of it all, and it's nice. The model of the Concorde jet, it's all lovely.
Yeah.
So
as dumb as it is, there's something visceral and real watching a Harley Davidson motorcycle skid down an alley and explode.
Yeah, it's got craft, and we should appreciate well crafted things.
Exploding the back of the van and then exploding the car. Which has a great line, like they look a couple of 2-bit hoods to you, and then the guards are like, "Yeah, pros would have went for my keys."
He likes to blow stuff up or something. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, thank you all again for a lovely conversation. I hope it wasn't too manic for everybody. But make sure to like and subscribe and follow us at HerdCon and check out our previous episodes. And this is our last episode of 2025, but we'll be back at some point in the new year, 2026. Take care and be well.